supermarket. Any blend is fine.
So that's just a plain flour?
Just a plain flour, not a self-raising flour. We're going to add some baking powder in a second. So we just pop in our flour, so our gluten-free flour, and then we've got a little bit of baking powder that we just have here. And
so that's just going to act as a bit of a raising agent?
Just as a bit of a raising agent. It's no yeast in this, no rye is needed. It's just the baking powder is enough of a rising agent.
And always check your labelling. When you're buying a baking powder, ensure it's a gluten-free one?
Yes, very true. Sometimes things that you don't think, obviously, are gluten-free.
You get the sneaky may contain statements sometimes.
Yes, we don't want those.
No, you always get that may contain traces or processed on
exactly
the same equipment.
Right.
We don't want those.
Exactly right. Luke, would you mind putting in? So we've got some salt here that we're adding in as well, just for a little bit of flavour. And then we've got our xanthan gum.
So xanthan gum is going to add some stretch to our dough?
It's going to add some stretch. It's going to just add a bit of structure. It's going to give the bit the ability to fold. We're just going to add in some warm water.
So it's important it's at that temperature?
It's important to be warm. It just helps it sort of easier to handle.
Okay.
When it's a little bit warmer. And then we've just got some oil. So this is just some canola oil, or you can use, I don't use olive oil because it has a bit of a flavour. But again, if you love olive oil, any oil is fine. Any oil will do. So we just add in our oil. And then we're just going to give that a little mix. So we're just going to mix this together. It is a little bit of a wet dough, so don't be concerned if it feels a little bit sticky. We've just got some extra flour that we're going to use to help roll it.
Now, I find that gluten-free doughs, when I'm baking as well, they do tend to be quite wet.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something you do need to get used to, because you may feel like, oh, I haven't done this right, it feels too sticky, but generally gluten-free doughs are wetter.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that used to be a problem with gluten-free back when it first started coming out, is a lot of the pastry or the dough would get quite dry because you compensate, and because it was so wet you'd add extra flour, and so it would become quite cardboardy, and that's where gluten-free products got that reputation for being quite cardboardy. So we add a bit more liquid to make it a bit softer, which makes it a better product.
Alrighty, so Helen, would you mind passing over some baking paper for me?
Yeah. Baking paper is your best friend when you're baking gluten-free, because it tends to be quite sticky.
It sure is. So I've just grabbed a little piece of the dough and I'm just rolling it into a nice ball. Just with our baking paper, I'm still going to put a little bit of flour, just dust a little bit of flour on the base there and just spread it around. So what we're going to do, so you can see it's a little bit sticky, but that's okay. A bit more flour on the top. Another sheet of baking paper. And then we're just going to, you can just start flattening it a little bit just to make it easier to get the shape right. We're going to get our rolling pin and we're just going to roll it into a nice round shape of a bit of bread.
Okay, great.
While I'm doing this, we've got our pan preheating. We need a nice hot pan. It's a really, really simple recipe, Helen. We don't need any oil. We're just going to dry fry, and it's going to just puff up as soon as it hits that high heat. We want to get it nice and golden and toasted on the outside, and it's almost going to be like, almost kind of like a naan bread where you get the little patches of the brown. Okay, so we've just rolled it out, just as a rough circle. That's fine. It doesn't need to be perfect. And then we're just going to transfer it over to the pan.
Yeah.
It's a nice hot pan, so we want a really high hot heat. And we're just going to pop that one in there.
The pita is dry fried for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side until it puffs up slightly and turns golden. They are then sliced into triangles and allowed to cool before adding to the salad later.
So there's our pita, so we'll just pop those over to the side. Then what we're going to do now is we're going to make our tzatziki. So we're making a gluten-free, obviously, tzatziki, but it's also going to be what we call low FODMAP and dairy-free. So here we have our dairy-free yogurt. You can use lactose-free yogurt. Any yogurt that you can eat, you can tolerate, will work perfectly fine. What we need to do first is we're going to grate some cucumber and squeeze out the juice. So Luke, would you mind grating our cucumber? We've got our nice muslin cloth here. And then Helen, can you cut some dill for me?
I love dill in tzatziki. This is exactly how I make it at home.
Exactly, yeah. So dill's such a beautiful herb and it just gives so much flavour. While Helen is cutting the dill and Luke's going on the cucumber for me, I have so many helpers. This is amazing. I need you guys all the time. So in here we've got some white vinegar. We're just going to add our white vinegar straight into the yogurt.
So it's going to add a bit of acidity.
I'm going to add a little bit of acidity
to
into
go
that.
to the dill.
Perfect. And I've also got here garlic oil. Now I know typical tzatziki has garlic galore in it. What we're going to use is garlic infused olive oil. So it's got all the flavour without all the pieces of garlic in it.
It's because garlic is a no-no if you're on a FODMAP diet, so this is a great alternative.
Correct.
It's something that a lot of people don't know, that garlic oil is low FODMAP because of the way the garlic oil is made. The sugar that's in the garlic that gives us problems doesn't come into the oil. It stays in the garlic. The flavour comes out.
Fantastic.
So all the flavour with none of the unwanted symptoms.
Now, Luke, I have to ask you, what's it like living together and working together?
Fantastic.
You're engaged?
Yes,
correct?
yes.
How long did you get engaged?
Too long.
Who's counting, right? A
Exactly.
little bit. Probably 2.5 years ago now.
Oh, look what's taking
Yeah.
so long.
Oh, not you
What
too.
a wedding date.
Yeah, I know. Sound like my mum.
You and Chrissy's family as well.
The whole family. Alrighty, so Luke's just going to squeeze out the water in the cucumber. We just do that so that it doesn't make the yogurt all
Yeah, we don't want a watery tzatziki,
No.
we want a creamy tzatziki.
creamy tzatziki. And you can see how great all the alternative to dairies are these days. Like, look how creamy and beautiful this yogurt is. You would never tell that it's not regular dairy yogurt.
Yeah. As long as we're getting all those beautiful flavours, the creaminess, the garlic
Exactly.
hit.
Exactly
The
right.
cucumber's going to add a bit of texture now.
Exactly right. So Luke, can you just pop in that beautifully strained cucumber into our tzatziki?
Sure can.
Wonderful. So we're just going to add a little bit of salt as well to it.
I love my sea salt flakes.
Always need our salt. And this is our gluten-free, low FODMAP, dairy-free, but not flavour-free tzatziki.
It's definitely full of flavour.
Definitely full of flavour.
So do we just toss that through?
So this is going to be the dressing for our lamb fattoush salad. But before we do that, what I've got here is we've got some beautiful lamb backstrap that we've marinated.
So
Got
what's
some
in this
beautiful-
marinade?
Yeah, so it's got some fresh coriander, some fresh mint, it's got some sweet paprika, a bit of our garlic oil that we love, and a bit of olive oil, and we've just marinated that for a couple hours. And I'm just going to get Luke, if you wouldn't mind, to pop that one onto the pan just with a little bit of olive oil, and we're just going to get that one cooked beautifully.
So we need a really hot pan for this because we want to sear it and get a beautiful crust on our lamb.
Exactly.
So we always like to cook the meat, particularly red meats, on a really high heat. So I've warmed that up nicely. I'm just going to add a little bit of oil, just so it doesn't stick too badly. And then when it gets to temperature, we're just going to throw it on. And when you hear that sizzling sound,
Oh, that's what we want to hear.
Perfect,
So it
perfect.
doesn't need much.
doesn't need much. Generally, a meat of this thickness will take about 90 seconds of either side.
Okay, great.
Wonderful. So while Luke's doing that, if you wouldn't mind just cutting some cherry tomatoes
Just
for
in
me,
half?
just in half, maybe about 6 or 7, just in half there. While you're doing that, I've got some beautiful parsley and mint. We're just going to tear some of that off and just rip it straight on into the salad. So it's a really beautiful fresh salad.
And mint is such a classic
Mint.
Middle Eastern
Yeah.
flavour, isn't it?
Mint, parsley, it's all about the herbs. It's a way to get flavour in without having to go to your basics, just onion and garlic.
And it's a good idea to get a herb garden going with mint and parsley. So, I mean, I have a herb garden at home and I'm running
Yeah.
out the back all the time.
Yeah, it's the
Cheaper
best
too.
way.
So do you want these tomatoes straight in the bowl?
Straight in the bowl. Wonderful. Then we're going to add in our bitter chips that we've just cut up from before. So that one's straight in. And then with our beautiful tzatziki, we're just going to spoon some of that in, and that becomes the dressing for our salad.
You just toss
And
that
we're
all
just
through.
going to toss that all through. Once the lamb's cooked, that's just going to go straight on in there. Lot of flavour.
And how's that lamb looking, Luke?
I think it's probably ready to cook the other side.
It's got a beautiful charred flavour. It's going to be delicious. Yeah. So I'll just straight on in.
Nice, beautiful
Beautiful.
serving dish for presentation.
Beautiful serving dish, yeah. And then when the lamb is ready, we're just going to lay that on top, and that's our salad done. So it's got the beautiful chips of feta in there. So we've cooked our meat, we've let it rest for a couple minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it up, and we're going to pop it on our salad. So
gonna slice that
we're just
thinly?
going to slice that nice and thinly. Let's have a look. Beautiful. You can see that it's nice and pink
in the middle.
inside, which is how you want your lamb to be. Lovely. And then we're just going to place this on top of our salad.
Oh, that looks gorgeous, Chrissy.
Wonderful. And then Helen, if you want to pop a little bit of extra tzatziki on that one for me.
Extra creamy salad.
Extra creamy salad, and we'll just pop some extra bitter chips.
Lovely.
Beautiful.
Let's dig in. I'll grab
Let's
some
dig
forks.
in.
There you go, Luke.
Thank you, Helen.
Chrissy, I think I'm going to
Thank you so much. We'll let you go first, Helen.